Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 70, Hospital Stay and Discharge. Because of this unexpected incident, attending school was certainly not possible. Fortunately, the incident happened on a Saturday. Once Komaeda Nagito got his phone back, he immediately sent the medical report to the class homeroom teacher's mailbox. It didn't take long before the homeroom teacher called back, sounding as if they were shocked by the diagnosis. It had only been a short time since the beginning of the term, and yet something like this had already happened. The homeroom teacher felt sympathetic toward Komaeda Nagito and readily gave him a leave of absence. Since Komaeda Nagito was hospitalized in Yokohama rather than Tokyo, although driving there took less than half an hour, it was still outside of Tokyo. The homeroom teacher consulted with Komaeda Nagito and, after confirming that he wanted to rest, dropped the idea of organizing a visit by his classmates. He just hoped Komaeda Nagito would recover soon. Even though Kudo Shinichi was no longer in the same school as Komaeda Nagito and could only be considered a middle school classmate, he still sharply sensed something was wrong. He called before Komaeda Nagito could inform him, asking about the situation. Yokohama, huh? I'll come see you on Sunday. Due to various reasons, Kudo Shinichi had a somewhat odd impression of Yokohama, and he sincerely advised over the phone, Yokohama is really dangerous. Why do you want to go back there every week? Why not stay in Tokyo permanently? Komaeda Nagito could only give a wry smile. It's just a habit of mine. Besides, a house that's lived in always feels new, doesn't it? If I never comes over then. Habits aren't something that can be changed quickly, but talking about a lived-in house feels new was just an excuse because even if he wasn't living there, Dazai-Osamu was. The truth was, the remnants left behind by his parents in Yokohama were gradually fading away over time. Komaeda Nagito subconsciously wanted to see them as much as possible before they disappeared completely. That's why when Natsume Soseki advised him to move, his first reaction was to refuse. Besides, what happened this time wasn't related to Yokohama, right? Even in Tokyo, car accidents can happen, can't they? Komaeda Nagito said confidently. Kudo Shinichi mumbled to himself, that's true. Anyway, I'll come see you later. When Kudo Shinichi came, he didn't come alone, he brought Nozaki Umetaro and Sakura Chio along with him. Komaeda Nagito. What kind of fusion is this? When they arrived, Dazai-Osamu was also present. Upon seeing the three of them, he immediately understood, Nozaki-kun, are you following Kudo-kun again? Nozaki Umetaro responded matter-of-factly, I got permission. Kudo Shinichi complained, but you don't even draw detective manga. What material could you possibly gather from following me? Last time, I thought it was because you were drawing detective manga. This time I'm gathering material for character settings. The experience is just a bonus. Nozaki Umetaro placed the gift on the table and asked politely, Komaeda-kun, how are you feeling? Thank you for your concern. I'm feeling much better. Komaeda Nagito, who could now sit up halfway without worrying about injuries to his ribs or lungs, said with a smile, I didn't expect so many people to come to see me. It feels like a dream, like it's too happy to be true, even if I were to have internal bleeding in the next second. Kudo Shinichi couldn't help but laugh helplessly, senpai is still the same as ever. Nozaki Umetaro took out his notebook and started scribbling, while Sakura Chio sighed wordlessly and handed Komaeda Nagito some class notes. These are the notes I took. I hope they help you catch up when you return to school, Komaeda-kun. Komaeda Nagito smiled and thanked them all sincerely. Dazai-Osamu ignored Kudo Shinichi and asked Nozaki Umetaro, how's your new manga coming along? I'm still working on it, Nozaki Umetaro replied earnestly, maybe 2 more issues. Right now, I'm continuing the current series, but I'll start a new one afterward. Dazai-Osamu showed great interest, I can't wait to see your new work. Seeing Dazai-Osamu, a mafia member, react like this, Kudo Shinichi was intrigued. Is his new work also based on you guys? Komaeda Nagito nodded. Dazai-Osamu lightly said, I'm the prototype for the male lead. Blocked from view by Nozaki Umetaro's tall figure, Sakura Chiyo briefly showed a hesitant expression, but no one noticed. Just as Nozaki Umetaro was about to say something, Kudo Shinichi spoke up first. Putting that aside, I wanted to ask how to get to the armed detective agency from here. Is it nearby? He added, embarrassed, since I'm here, I want to see Edogawa Ranpo. Dazai Osamu finally acknowledged Kudo Shinichi with a glance. I passed by there on my way here. It's not too far, but you might not see him. I know, Edogawa Ranpo must be very busy. Kudo Shinichi, who had seemed rational just moments before, suddenly became enthusiastic. Even just seeing the detective agency would be nice. Dazai Osamu chuckled, you look like you're here to see the armed detective agency, and visiting Komai-de-kun is just a coincidence. Kudo Shinichi retorted, Dazai-san, has anyone ever told you that you're narrow-minded? Since Dazai Osamu often came by his place last year to visit Komai-de-Nagi-to, Kudo Shinichi was quite familiar with him. Occasionally making a snarky comment or two, Dazai Osamu wouldn't actually get mad. In fact, when Kudo Shinichi said that, Dazai Osamu even put on a weak, pitiful, and innocent expression, Kudo-kun, you're being too mean. Kudo Shinichi. Why would anyone believe that act of his? However, unaware that Dazai Osamu was part of the mafia, Nozaki Umetaro continued scribbling in his notebook, while Sakura Chiyo gave Kudo Shinichi a disapproving look, trying to mediate. Alright, this is Komai-de-kun's hospital room. You two don't need to argue. Dazai-kun was probably just joking. I was also just joking. Kudo Shinichi sighed. Sakura Chiyo looked at Komai-de-Nagi-to, who got her hint and opened his mouth. Haha, Dazai-kun and Kudo-kun seem to have gotten along better. Indeed, it was all just jokes. Dazai-kun didn't seem to dislike Kudo-kun, and they certainly had a close relationship. Sakura Chiyo. Really? Is this what getting along better looks like? How bad was their relationship before this? After all, they were here to visit a patient. A bit of banter was fine, but the main point was to check on Komai-de-Nagi-to. Of course, after Nozaki Umetaro asked his obligatory questions, he bluntly asked, Can I gather some material in this hospital room? I've never seen such a luxurious hospital room. Sakura Chiyo's face flushed with embarrassment. Nozaki-kun. Saying things like that would make people question your motives. Ignoring the patient and just gathering material, is that how things should be? However, Komai-de-Nagi-to didn't mind at all. Sure. Nozaki Umetaro took the opportunity to ask, how much does this room cost? I don't know, Komai-de-Nagi-to replied honestly, this is a hospital funded by Tei Corporation. I bought insurance from Tei Corporation. Besides, since I'm a VIP customer, they arranged for me to be here. Generally, staying at a hospital owned by the same corporation meant cutting costs wherever possible. But VIP customers were different. Last year, Komai-de-Nagi-to saved the insurance department a huge amount of money, and the insurance company felt indebted to him, so they kept upgrading his treatment until it ended up like this. Anyway, it was their own hospital. When it came to covering expenses, covering just the necessary costs wasn't much of a difference. They were all internal transactions, and they could even use it as an opportunity to win favor from customers. No reason not to do it. Nozaki Umetaro nodded thoughtfully while taking notes. I see. Such rich material. Afterward, he grabbed his phone and started taking pictures around the hospital room for future reference. Sakura Chiyo looked at Nozaki Umetaro's familiar antics and practically reached enlightenment. He isn't even upset and is smiling warmly in encouragement. Komai-de-kun must have an amazing personality. Though the visit had some strange moments, overall, this group hospital visit went quite well. When they noticed Komai-de-Nagi-to looking tired, everyone except Dazai Osamu made their timely exit. Once they had left the hospital, Sakura Chiyo suddenly realized. Isn't Dazai-kun coming with us? Kudo Shinichi, who knew a bit more than the others, explained casually, Komaeda-senpai has no family. Dazai-san, at the very least, lives with senpai, so it's only natural for him to stay and take care of him. That said, Kudo Shinichi still felt a bit uneasy inside. Wasn't a mafia executive supposed to be busy? How could he have the time to just hang out in the hospital? People were indeed multifaceted. Although Dazai-Osamu was a mafia member with blood on his hands, when it came to friends, at least from what Kudo had seen, there was really nothing more to say. Sakura Chio was taken aback. What? Dazai-kun lives with Komaeda-kun? How strange, a high school student living with a college student. Could it be that Dazai-kun's parents are also gone, which is why he's staying with classmate Komaeda? Nozaki Umetaro's eyes instantly lit up. Does that mean the bento tofu I saw Komaeda-kun eating was actually made by Dazai-kun? Is that really the point? Sakura Chio was exasperated. Kudo Shinichi, hearing this piece of information for the first time, was also a little surprised. I don't know what tofu you're talking about, but I did hear Dazai-san made some chicken soup. Nozaki Umetaro instinctively took out his notebook and jotted it down. His personality was a bit eccentric, but Kudo Shinichi was used to it. He glanced at Sakura Chio, who were making sure Nozaki Umetaro didn't trip while riding and walking, and then relaxed his gaze, continuing his daily detective skills practice. His eyes randomly scanned passers-by, then started guessing their occupations. Suddenly, his gaze lingered for a moment, locking eyes with someone before they looked away. That person in the black trench coat just now looked young, but the aura, without a doubt, they were part of the mafia. They held a suitcase, but it was likely not a weapon, it probably contained documents. Could they be here to deliver something to Dazai-Osamu? Kudo Shinichi's guess wasn't wrong. The person was Akutagawa Yunosuke, one of Dazai-Osamu's subordinates from last year. The suitcase contained documents needing Dazai-Osamu's signature. While many things could be managed remotely, some signatures still required the person to be present. Actually, Dazai-Osamu still spent quite a lot of time at the Port Mafia headquarters every day. It was just by chance that Kudo Shinichi and the others came to visit when he wasn't there. Usually, he wasn't around. But Yokohama wasn't that big, getting around took just a moment, and with Akutagawa Yunosuke ensuring security, whenever Dazai-Osamu wasn't at headquarters, he'd have Akutagawa deliver the documents directly. Tei Corporation had collaborations with the Port Mafia, so there was no issue letting Akutagawa Yunosuke through the door despite his suspicious appearance, making the process very convenient. Mori Ogai was aware that he is a ruthless enterprise, with work hours entirely reliant on self-discipline. Accounting for Dazai-Osamu staying over at Komaeda Nagito's occasionally was really just taking a nap, so naturally, he couldn't say anything, even though both he and Dazai-Osamu knew there was no way Dazai could sleep a full 8 hours. Whenever something important came up, Dazai was still at headquarters, and Mori Ogai had no objections. He even thought this current arrangement wasn't bad at all. It was certainly better than having Dazai-Osamu disappear somewhere, making it impossible to find him when needed. Now, Dazai-Osamu spent his time between the hospital and headquarters. Even his attempts at suicide were limited to those two places, which actually made things easier. If he tried anything in the hospital, they could rescue him immediately. If you thought about it seriously, the time Mori could get in contact with Dazai-Osamu had actually increased. Truly his junior disciple, even while bedridden, Komaeda-kun managed to help him out. Mori Ogai silently offered his thanks in his heart. If Dazai-Osamu could stay like this forever, he'd be much more at ease. But, alas, expecting Dazai-Osamu to stay calm for a moment was one thing, expecting him to stay calm his entire life was nothing short of dreaming. So, Mori Ogai stood on the rooftop of the Port Mafia's headquarters, looking out at Yokohama through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and sighed deeply. The optimal solution, after all, is still. Completely oblivious to the undercurrents swirling among the higher-ups, Akutagawa Yunosuke knocked on the hospital room door with a stern expression. After hearing permission granted, he entered and placed the document case on the coffee table. Dazai-san, these need to be signed immediately. So many things to deal with lately. Dazai-Osamu grumbled as he walked over to sit down, starting to sign the documents in front of Komaeda Nagito while also making a few calls to arrange assignments. Akutagawa Yunosuke didn't sit. He stood by Dazai-Osamu's side, awaiting orders, ignoring Komaeda Nagito, who was sitting on the hospital bed. Komaeda Nagito was used to this atmosphere. He picked up Sakura Chiyo's notebook and began studying it against the textbook. Simply put, he paid no attention to Akutagawa Yunosuke. Initially, Komaeda Nagito hadn't been this dismissive, but this version of Akutagawa Yunosuke was a devoted Dazai fanatic. Their first meeting nearly ended with Komaeda being killed. Komaeda found it quite frustrating dealing with someone who wouldn't listen or communicate, so he opted to keep his distance. He wasn't afraid of death, but dying so meaninglessly would be rather unpleasant. As for Akutagawa Yunosuke, he also maintained a respectful distance from Komaeda Nagito, and Dazai-Osamu knew full well that true respect between them was impossible. Besides, he had no interest in listening to Komaeda Nagito praise Akutagawa Yunosuke right in front of him. So, the final resolution was that Akutagawa and Komaeda ignored each other, peacefully coexisting. Dazai-Osamu was quite satisfied. And so, Dazai-Osamu on one hand complaining, "I've never worked this hard before," on the other he swiftly finished the task, sending Akutagawa Yunosuke away. Akutagawa Yunosuke had been taken in by Dazai-Osamu for over half a year now, and it could be said that he'd been properly trained. At the very least, this time there was nothing in his behavior that made Dazai-Osamu want to raise a hand against him. He obediently took the case and left. As soon as Akutagawa Yunosuke left, Dazai-Osamu went back to the couch that had been pushed to the edge of the bed, his usual spot. "Oda Saku and the others have been so busy lately," Dazai-Osamu said, "there hasn't even been time to hang out." Komaeda Nagito put down the textbook. "Is there something big happening in Yokohama recently?" "No." Dazai-Osamu pinched his chin thoughtfully. "If there was, I'd be at headquarters right now." "So, isn't that strange?" Komaeda Nagito pondered for a moment. "Executives aren't busy, but everyone else is? That's pretty normal, isn't it?" Dazai-Osamu smiled slightly. "Don't be fooled by how I look. I know very well whether those below me should be busy or not. Ongo maybe, the intelligence division never has a moment's rest, but Oda Saku." Dazai didn't continue, his gaze growing deep as he sank into thought. Komaeda Nagito didn't press him further, his attention returning to the textbook. Not to mention Port Mafia's internal matters, which he never interfered with, nor could he could barely stand, needing a cane most of the time, and for longer distances, a wheelchair. Even if he wanted to help, there wasn't much he could do. The odds seemed perpetually against Komaeda, but this time his hospital stay had gone relatively smoothly for the past 2 to 3 months. The head of Tei Corporation's insurance department had even visited Komaeda Nagito. Since Komaeda Nagito had been hospitalized, the frequency of unexpected incidents had drastically decreased. The largest one had been a small roadside fire, but it was quickly contained. Now, the person in charge prayed daily, hoping Komaeda Nagito would continue having minor, hospital-related incidents, although logically speaking, insurance should have to pay out more in such cases. Staying in the corporate hospital meant virtually no costs at all. After treatment expenses were written off, even Komaeda himself was covered that way. One payout, and the entire insurance department had peace of mind for months. It was an absolute win. Of course, during this period, Natsume Soseki also snuck in as a stray cat to visit Komaeda Nagito, though whatever he had been busy with was still a mystery. Afterward, he could only keep in touch by phone, too preoccupied to seem like someone who had retired. Incidentally, when Natsume Soseki left Komaeda Nagito's hospital room, he, as a cat, accidentally slipped and fell from a tree, receiving a few minor injuries. Komaeda felt quite guilty, believing his teacher had been dragged down because of him. Even Natsume Soseki received this kind of treatment, so it was only natural that Dazai-Osamu should end up getting hurt a little too. But despite that, he still couldn't suppress his obsession with suicide. Komaeda Nagito truly couldn't figure out whether Dazai's injuries were because of him, or simply the result of Dazai's suicidal tendencies. In the daily mix of small, mundane troubles, Komaeda Nagito had missed the entire first semester while being hospitalized. By the time he was discharged, it was already mid-year, just in time for summer break. Komaeda Nagito used the tests that Sakura Chio brought for him to evaluate his progress and found no issues, so he decided not to return to school until after summer break. Since Komaeda had been in Yokohama for quite some time, his place in Tokyo naturally became vacant. Unlike the port mafia's frequent visits near his Yokohama residence, which deterred thieves, his Tokyo place had no such deterrence. As a result, his Tokyo place got broken into once. Since Komaeda rarely stayed there, the burglar didn't find much, just stole a TV and a microwave. They didn't even bother with the fridge because it was too heavy. After summer break, Kudo Shinichi went straight to Yokohama. "I want to intern at the Armed Detective Agency." Kudo Shinichi's eyes sparkled as he spoke. Ranpo-san agreed. He said I could try assisting him first. Though my dream is to be Holmes, experiencing a bit of colorful life first isn't bad either. Komaeda Nagito congratulated him. "So, you'll be spending your entire summer in Yokohama?" "Yeah, the agency will provide dormitory accommodation, and I don't need to worry about anything else. I just need to wholeheartedly learn from Ranpo-san." Kudo Shinichi, filled with admiration for his idol, left Komaeda Nagito's house. Currently, Komaeda Nagito is no longer in the hospital. Though he still has trouble walking with one leg and relies on crutches, Dazai Osamu was no longer obligated to stay by his side under the guise of being his nurse. He has returned to his previous habits, working, attempting suicides, disappearing, and becoming hard to find, even when going to Komaeda Nagito's place. Mori Ogai expressed great regret but couldn't encourage an executive to stay away from headquarters. Things could only remain that way. Therefore, Komaeda Nagito is now free to entertain guests at any time, no longer needing appointments like when he was hospitalized. As a result, someone he had known for a year but had never met in person sent Komaeda Nagito a request for a meetup. Little Raccoon, a big name in detective fiction, now has a relationship with Komaeda Nagito that goes beyond merely exchanging information about Edogawa Ranpo. They are ordinary friends. This year, he also came to Yokohama. Komaeda Nagito asked him if he'd like to meet up, and Little Raccoon mustered up the courage to agree. But as soon as he asked, he found out Komaeda Nagito was hospitalized. Just imagining having to go to the reception and register made Little Raccoon refuse. Now that Komaeda Nagito has been discharged, he finally gathered his courage to meet the friend he made online. Now, Little Raccoon was sitting in the living room of Komaeda Nagito's house, formally introducing himself for the first time. "Hello, my real name is Edgar Allan Poe." Komaeda Nagito's body slightly twitched. Thankfully, his still injured leg brought him back to his senses, and he didn't actually pounce forward to grab the other's hand in a passionate display of admiration. Given what he knew about Little Raccoon, if this person was indeed the famous Edgar Allan Poe, he would definitely get scared away and never meet him again. But still, Edgar Allan Poe. Conan Doyle, Hitchcock, Baudelaire, even Edogawa Ranpo, all of them were deeply influenced by him. He was a genius. Even George Bernard Shaw acknowledged Edgar Allan Poe as the greatest author of his time. How did he come to this world and turn into a socially anxious person chasing after Edogawa Ranpo? This thought spun in Komaeda Nagito's mind for a second. Fine, Akutagawa Yunosuke is a complete Dazai Osamu fanatic. Nothing that happens in this world can surprise him anymore. Because the boss wants us to come check out Yokohama, we decided to move here. Edgar Allan Poe, initially a bit shy when they first met, gradually began to relax as he saw that Komaeda Nagito matched his online persona. He loosened up a lot, speaking more freely. "Although I really want to have a showdown with Ranpo-san now, the time isn't right yet. I haven't finished writing. I need to complete the boss's mission first." Komaeda Nagito tried his best to restrain himself from being overly enthusiastic, fearing he might scare Poe away. "A mission? Just the right opportunity to ask you, Komaeda-kun, since you've been living in Yokohama. Have you ever heard of the book? Chapter 70 End.